Basically, just to get straight into the story, the Sunderkand could be broken up if you break the word Sunderkand into two words. The first word would be Sundar, which means something that is beautiful, and the Kand means something just as a chapter. So basically, if you were to put those two words together, this is a beautiful chapter. So I mean, if you ask any Ram Bhakta or anyone that follows the Ramayan, reads the Ramayan, the whole book is beautiful, and we can take a lot away from this book. However, Goswami Tulsidas Ji, who wrote this Ramayan, specifically gave the name of this chapter, the Sunderkand. So if you ask 10 different people that read the Ramayan to understand the Ramayan, they'll give you 10 different answers. Today and over this 4-month period, I've tried to explain my perspective of how I take away the Sunderkand and what I take away from the Sunderkand. So I hope that you guys have taken something away from it. The Sunderkand, like I said, starts off with a doha or a chapai, also known as a line, which says Jam Vantake Bachan Suhai. So Hanumanji, who is Ram's servant, or who serves Lord Ram, he is basically sitting down, and Jam Mantri and all everyone in that group starts to think, who is this one person? Who is someone that can go to Lanka, find Mata Sita, and then come back with that message of where Mata Sita is and how is she even still alive? So a lot of the soldiers said, like I can go halfway, I can get to Lanka, but I won't be able to come back. So a lot of a lot of people put their hand up, but there's only one person that was able to, that had the knowledge, that had the strength, and the strength and that faith in God, that that I'll go out and I'll do my best, and I'm very confident that I'll be able to come back and complete the task at hand. So Jam Mantaji explains all of this to Hanumanji, and then where the Katha starts is Jam Vantake Bachan Suhai. So basically, Hanumanji has listened to everything that Jamanti said and said, you know what, this is actually my purpose in my life, and I should be, and I'm actually very happy that I've been given this opportunity to serve Lord Ram. So sometimes we get up. Sometimes we need people in our life, someone like a Jamanti that can give us a motivational boost, or give us a sense of direction in terms of where we should be going and what's sort of good for us. So Hanumanji here is very lucky that he had Jamant, and Jamant basically gave him a direction in terms of this is where we need to go. After Hanumanji agrees that that I'm going to go to Lanka, I'm going to try and find Mata Sita, before he leaves, he says Bar Bar Raghuvir Samhari. So Bar Bar means time and time again. Raghuvir is just another name for Bhagwan Ram, and then Samhari meaning taking his name. So countless times throughout this Sunderkand, countless times, whatever, like every little thing that he does, he takes God's name. Yeah. So what that does for Hanumanji, especially before he left, before he departed in order to go to Lanka and try and find Mata Sita, is he says God's name, like I said. So even if for those listeners who are interested in the Sunderkand but are not necessarily that religious, something that we could do and is could be considered the same thing is Hanumanji takes God's name, but something that we can do is we can at least try and put ourselves in a positive state of mind. So say, for example, if I'm leaving home and I have a big day ahead, or even just any day in general, if I'm leaving home, if we can leave home with a positive state of mind, there's a lot that we can achieve. Yeah. But at the same time, if we leave home and we're in a negative state of mind, we're already angry, then there's a lot that might go undone throughout the day. So that's what Hanumanji does. He puts himself in a positive state of mind, and he departs Lord Ram and everyone that was around him in search of Mata Sita, who is in Lanka. So once Hanumanji leaves, there's a lot of people along the way that try to stop him. Similarly in our life, sometimes we try to do good things. We try to do something for the betterment of someone else, for the betterment of a community, for the betterment of any cause. And there's always people that try and pull us down. So what does Hanumanji do? Instead of getting angry, instead of trying to kill everyone along the way, what he does is he uses his brain, right? He uses his mind, and he calmly sort of pushes through all those issues that arose. So after he finally reaches Lanka, Then he starts to think, okay, so Lanka is a very big place. Where could Mata Sita be? So Hanumanji is thinking, Mata Sita is like my God. She's my mother. So she must be in a very beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. So that's how naive you could say, or that's how blessed Hanumanji's heart is. So he thinks, he goes to the most beautiful places, the beautiful palaces. He goes to so the line says mandir mandir pratikara soda. Now, so he searches all these mandirs and all these places, and then he realizes, like I'm searching, but I still can't find him. So eventually, after searching for overnight, he finds at 4 a.m. in the morning, he finds Vibhishan's house. So Vibhishan is Ravan's smaller brother. He finds Vibhishan's house, and he goes up and asks him. He goes up and asks him. Look. He goes up and asks him, look, where is Mata Sita? So it is said here that maybe one of the reasons why the Sunderkand is known as a Sunderkand, or known as a beautiful chapter, is because within this Sunderkand, Hanumanji himself says this whole Ramayan 3 times. So he says the whole Ramayan 3 times. The first time is here with Vibhishan, the second time is with Mata Sita, and the third time is with Ravan. Now, and every single time there's a different purpose, and there's something different that Hanumanji tries to achieve. So the first time he goes to Vibhishan, and he asks, and he goes to Vibhishan, and the reason why he says the Ramayan is Hanumanji is trying to give direction in Vibhishan's life. So basically Vibhishan is a devotee of God, but there's little things that he doesn't do, that he does. That still is not giving the ability to connect to God. So what Hanumanji does, he says the Ramayan, but he says it in a way that Vibhishan can understand that there's little things, although he's doing a lot, although God is always in his mind, but there's little things that he needs to do in order to get closer. Right? So Hanumanji gives him that information through the Ramayan and through the Kathas that we're listening to right now. So he gives him that information, and then eventually Vibhishan tells Hanumanji, look, this is where Mata Sita is. There's a massive tree, there's a garden, and this is exactly where she's sitting. Hanumanji goes and he finds Mata Sita, and when he goes and sees Mata Sita, he sees that Mata Sita, her body has lost all the meat on her body. She has very, very run down. She's very run down. Her mental stability is very, very low. Okay, so he understands this straight away. And what does he do? The first thing that he does is, like I said before, is he says the Ramayan. So this is an example for us that if ever we are in a tough position, if ever someone else is in a tough position, these are things that we could do. So what he does, he says 2 main things. He says have faith and have courage. So if anyone is ever going through a rough time, something that Hanumanji said to Mata Sita, and something that we could say to people as well, maybe those people that are close to us, is have faith and have patience. So that's what Hanumanji says to Mata Sita. But again, like I said, he says the whole Ramayan, and that was the focus, and that was basically the message that Hanumanji tried to say to Mata Sita. So after Hanumanji gives goes to Mata Sita, he is then captured by Ravan. So he was then captured by Ravan, and then once he's captured by Ravan, he's taken into Ravan Sabha. So Sabha meaning where everyone is sort of sitting. So there's Ravan, they've got all his deputy ministers and everyone that supports Ravan and his cause. They're all sitting there. So now they start to think, like this is Ram's devotee. This is Ram's sevak. This is someone that was sent by Ram. Maybe we should just burn his tail. So then when he goes running back to his king, when he goes running back to the person that he serves, he might get scared as well. So what do? They burn his tail on fire, and because he's a monkey, his job is to jump from branch to branch. So what he does is because he's a monkey, he jumps from house to house, and because his tail is on fire, eventually the whole Lanka is burnt down. Okay, so the whole Lanka is burnt down, and then he goes back to Mata Sita, and Mata Sita asks, like, what's going on, and then Hanumanji, Mata Sita basically says, what's going on? Hanumanji gives his answer, right, and Mata Sita gives her message. She asks, how is Ram? Does he even miss me? It's been so long, and there's still no sign of Ram. Does he miss me? Does he even think about me? So what does Hanumanji say is is Ram Bhagwan has sent a message as well. So Hanumanji says the message that Ram Bhagwan sent, and it's a very long message, but one of the main messages is Ram Bhagwan says is like, because they're in a jungle and because they're surrounded with all these things, something that would happen often is it starts to rain. So Hanumanji, Ram Bhagwan says, even when it rains, I mean that much sadness right now. I miss you that much. I need you that much that when it rains, it feels like it's hot oil rather than water. So this is one of the reasons why Bhagwan Ram is actually so great. Because we think, we read every other scripture and God, comes down and does some sort of miracle, and then everything's all good and goes back to normal. But however, with the Ramayan and with Bhagwan Ram, is he lives a life of that we are basically living right now. So he's living, he goes through all the sadness, he goes through all the happiness that we go through as well. But it's how he suffers, how he takes those situations, and what he does in those situations is the takeaway messages for us. So instead of he's a God, he could have easily just clicked his fingers and killed Ravan and had Mata Sita back. But because he came in the form of a human, these are things that because he came in the form of a human, he has to do everything, or he does everything rather, that a human would do. So this is the reason why Bhagwan Ram is so great, and why we read his stories is because he's gone through the same life, if not something similar, that we have as well. Back to the story, Hanumanji says all of these things to Mata Sita, and then Hanumanji goes back to Bhagwan Ram, and then Bhagwan Ram asks him in a very stern voice, look what happened. I asked you to go to Lanka. I asked you to find Mata Sita. Why is the whole Lanka burned down? So basically, what happens is he asks, why is the whole Lanka burned down? Then something that is very, very deep, that Hanumanji says to Bhagwan Ram is, inside of us we have two forms of fire. Okay, so inside of us we have two forms of fire. One fire is good, and the other fire is bad. So it's how we use that fire, which can make us, a great person. We can make our life very, very successful. Or if we use that fire in the wrong way, that will be to our own detriment. Okay, so the good fire could be things like if I have a positive drive. So like they say, I have a fire in my belly. If I have a positive drive, I'm motivated to do things. That's what you could classify as good fire. And then at the same note, a bad fire might be things like anger, might be things like ego. All of these things might be things like jealousy. Might be maybe if you're scared about something, these type of things burn us alive. So this is what basically Hanumanji says to Ravan. He says that, look, I didn't burn Lanka down. I didn't burn anyone down. This place was already burnt down. Although not literally, this place was already burned down. There's so much sin. There's so much bad that's happening. Someone's been kidnapped, and everyone's still sitting there and laughing, and everyone's still sitting there and not doing anything about it. This place is already burnt down. This place is already dead. So this is what Hanumanji sort of says to Bhagwan Ram, and basically, Ram Bhagwan agrees, and going back to Lanka, Vibhishan and Ravan and everyone there starts to think, this is only the messenger, this is only the messenger. What if Ram actually came? What would happen then? So all of this talk is happening. Ravan goes to his Sabha again, goes to where all the deputy ministers and everyone else is sitting. He asks them, what should we do? Or what should you do? Or what's the situation? So what the whole Sabha says is, oh, Ravan, you're so great. You're the biggest king in the world. No one can kill you. You're so great. Like, you're just so powerful. So they start to butter him up a little bit, just because they're actually scared of, because if they say anything against him, they will actually get killed or they'll get kicked out of Lanka. So because of that fear, they just start to praise Ravan, and if anything, they tell him that you need to make that if war is in the picture, then you will definitely win. So after hearing all of this, in the Sunderkand it says Avasara Jana Vibhishan Ava. Now, so Avasara means time, and Jan means like he found the right time. Vibhishan found the right time, and he said, you know what, Ravan, because Ravan, Vibhishan is a smaller brother, and Ravan is the bigger brother, and he said, you know what, Ravan, you're actually wrong. You kidnapped someone's wife. Now he's come very close to Lanka, and he's come just to get his wife back. All you have to do is give Mata Sita back, and all of this will be all good. If anything, Vibhishan offers his own support, and he says, look, I'll go and speak to Ram. Maybe you should go and speak to Ram and ask for forgiveness, right? Because he's that type of person that if you go to Ram and you ask for forgiveness with a clean heart, then you may be forgiven. So you will be forgiven. So what happens is Vibhishan tries very, very hard to stand up to his big brother and tell his big brother, what you're doing is wrong, and you need to give his wife back. But what happens is Vibhishan eventually realizes, look, whatever I'm trying, whatever I'm doing right now is not working. So the Sunderkaand says, Ki Rama Satya Sankalpahu. So what he does is he takes an oath. He's in a negative situation. He's trying his best to make that negative into a positive. So instead of being part of the problem, he decides that he needs to be part of the solution, and being part of the solution is not working right now. So then what he does is he goes towards Ram. So he goes towards Ram, and this is something that we could take away in our life as well. So sometimes we're stuck in a negative situation. Sometimes we're stuck in situations that we wish we could get out of, or that sort of drags us down negatively. So that this is something that we should do as well. We need to stand up for ourselves. We need to be self-aware. We need to be able to speak up, speak to people. If you're going through a rough time, then there's so many, especially in Australia, there's so many places that we could go to. You can go to a Brahmin, है ना? वेद शास्त्र कहते हैं कि दुख समय है तो ब्राह्मण के पास जाओ, गुरु के पास जाओ. So, and then like if you're going through a tough time, there's various apps like Smiling Minds, or there's websites like Beyond Blue. So there's if anything, like if we're stuck in a tough position, it's always advised that we speak to someone that's knowledgeable in that area. So what does Vibhishan do is he leaves. He just realizes, look, this is not going to work. I'm trying to come up with a solution, but it's just not working. Goes towards Bhagwan Ram, and as soon as he gets there, and this is I mean, I said this last week, and I feel very, very deeply about this. Is there's certain things that makes us different to God, that puts God sort of up here. There's certain things that put God up here, and we're sort of down here. And there's certain things that we can do to slowly bring us up to God. That doesn't mean that we're going to become God. It just means that there's certain things that we can do, characteristics, or scenario, the way people, Bhagwan Ram and these devatas and gods have dealt with situations that we can implement into our life. Not because you want to become God, but because you want to become a better person. So we look at Ram as an ideal. We look at Ram as someone that we should follow, right? So basically, just get to the point. Ram, when Vibhishan comes to Ram and Lakshman, the first thing that they ask is how are you, and how is your family? So standing in front of Ram and Lakshman is Ravan, is Vibhishan, the smaller brother of Ravan. So if you were to put yourself in Ram's shoes, if someone steals your wife, or kidnaps someone that you love, or kidnaps someone that's very, very close to you, if someone kidnaps them and their younger brother is standing right in front of you, what would you do? So what would you do if someone that you love has been kidnapped, has been taken away, or has been abused in any way, and their younger brother, their family member is standing right in front of you? The question arises, what you would do. Okay, so I know how I would probably react. Right, it definitely wouldn't be a positive reaction. But what does Ram Bhagwan do? Is he sees the distressed look on Vibhishan's face, and he asks him, "Look, are you okay?" So that's, like I said, that is the difference between God, and that is the difference between us. Little things like this. So moving ahead, he asks him how he's doing, how his family's doing, and after that, after having that little conversation, and Vibhishan has been enlightened, they start to figure out, okay, we need to get to Lanka. So right now they're in southern India in Tamil Nadu, and they need to go to Lanka, which is nowadays known as Sri Lanka. So there's a river, there's an ocean in between. So how are they going to cross the ocean? So Bhagwan Ram says, we should just pray, and we'll come up with an answer. Lakshman, the smaller brother of Ram, thinks, pray. My sister-in-law is sitting over there in Lanka, and you want us to pray and sit down and think of a solution. I have the ability to dry up the whole ocean. So Lakshman and Ram, they have the ability to dry up the whole ocean. Why not just dry up the whole ocean right now, and we can just walk there. We can get there like faster. But Bhagwan Ram, like I said, there's differences between us and there's differences between God, right? And these are things that we can work towards. That's why this story is so great, because these are things, there's differences, but there's things that we can do in order to get closer to God and in order to become a better person, which is written in the books. Okay, so it says that Lakshman gets angry and says that we need to dry up the ocean. But Ram Bhagwan thinks, dry up the ocean. If I dry up the ocean, there's so many animals. There's so many people that depend on the water. There's the same people. There's so many animals in there, like countless amount of animals. So if you dry up the ocean, like what's going to happen to those animals? So sometimes the takeaway message for that little section is sometimes we think that I'm just going to do it my way. I'm just going to do it my way, and whatever happens happens. I'm just or whoever gets stuck in the middle gets stuck in the middle. Or whoever gets run over in the middle gets run over in the middle. And that's what Ram could have done. He could have dried up the whole ocean and easily walked there, and then got Mother Sita. But what does he do? Is he takes a calm approach to it. Instead of getting angry, instead of using his strength, he uses his mind. So, and how does he use his mind? Is he prays, he meditates. So even if like I said before, even if you're not religious, you don't have to necessarily pray, in order to get your mind calmer. You don't. There's a lot of you can do yoga, you can meditate. You can do breathing techniques. You can go for a walk. Yeah. So there's many things that we can do to get our mind in one place and in one direction. So what does Ram Bhagwan do? Is he prays and they come up with a solution. So the solution is they realize that they should make a bridge. So that's what they do. And nowadays you can actually still see the bridge. It's called the Ram Setu. So if you guys Google Ram Setu, there's pictures from NASA which you can see, and the bridge is actually still visible today. So definitely a bit of homework for you guys. Sorry, I'm a teacher, so I just like to give students homework. It's just something that I do for fun sometimes. So homework for today is go into NASA, go into Google and search up the Ram Setu, and that's something that there's a lot of things that we can still see. That was done by God, that we can still see if we go to India. Back to the point, that the Ram Setu is made within 3 days. So it's a bridge that joins from southern India to Sri Lanka. So that bridge is made. They cross the bridge. There's a war between Ravan and his soldiers and Ram and his soldiers. That war basically goes for 27 days. Massive war. After the 27th day, and Ram Bhagwan and his soldiers and his group and his army, they win that war. It is said that Sugriv, the younger brother of Ravan, the younger brother of Ravan is now deemed the king of Lanka. And as a king, the first thing that Sugriv does is he goes to that Ashok Vatika where Mata Sita is. He brings Mata Sita, and that is the first time that Bhagwan Ram and Mata Sita see each other, and that's when they sort of first meet after a long time. Thank you for everyone that joined me today and that has watched and has reached this Katha. Shri Hanuman Katha, Jai Jai Ram Katha, Jai Shri Ram Katha, Jai Jai Ram Katha, Jai Shri Ram Katha. जिसे श्रवण कर मिट जाती है, इसे श्रवण कर मिट जाती है, इसे श्रवण कर मिट जाती है, इसे श्रवण कर मिट जाती, सौ जन्म जन्म की व्यथा हो। जय जय राम कथा, जय श्री राम कथा, जय जय राम कथा, जय श्री राम कथा। राम कथा कल बिटप कुठारी, सादर सुन गिरिराज कुमारी। राम कथा कल बिटप कुठारी, सादर सुन गिरिराज कुमारी। राम कथा सुन